So now we will be fabricating a Muenster orthosis. So there are many different ways to fabricate a Muenster. This is just one of the many ways, and this is what works best for us. So for this one, you can make a pattern as we have with other orthoses, but for this one today, we will be measuring. So you're gonna get your measuring tape, and we're going to measure starting at the base of the thumb and then to the elbow crease. So you'll be measuring that, and then you're gonna log that. And then the second measurement will be at just proximal to the MP joint of the small finger and then to the olecranon process. So now that we have our measurements, we will make the pattern for our orthosis on the splinting material. So first, we are going to make a dot for the thumb hole. So we're going to have 3 different lines, 1 in the middle and then 2 on the side. We're first going to draw the first line right down the middle, and that's going to be our first measurement from the base of the thumb to the elbow crease. And we're going to start the line just below that thumb hole. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and draw the line so you can see it, but when you're actually fabricating the orthosis, you will not draw the line because then it will show up on your orthosis. Okay, and then for the second measurement, which is from the 5th MP joint to the olecranon process, those are going to be on each side of the center line. And those are going to go all the way past the thumb hole. And I'm going to go ahead and draw that line on each side. And then down here, we're going to extend this down and we're going to make tabs for the posterior aspect of the elbow. And then this portion, we're going to actually connect to the end of this center line. So this portion will be sitting in the elbow crease. As for the width of the orthosis, the individual that I am making this on has a petite arm, so I'm not making it very wide, but you can take a guess on how wide you think you need it. We're going to be using the tag method, so you can stretch the material a little bit so you do have a little bit of play with arm circumference. Once your pattern is cut out and the material is ready, then we will fabricate the orthosis. So we will put the thumb through the thumb hole and then tag the posterior, tag it on the posterior of the elbow. And then we're going to tag on the ulnar side of the wrist, hand and forearm to make sure we get a snug fit. And you want to make sure their elbow is in 90. And then I'm going to roll around the thumb as well. So elbow will be in 90, wrist will be in neutral, and forearm will be in neutral as well, unless otherwise specified. And then once the orthosis is cooled, we will go in and trim. So on the ulnar aspect of the arm here, I will just cut that where we tagged it, and then we'll have straps there. And then I will also trim on the posterior aspect of the elbow as well, where we also tagged. And then otherwise, just make sure it sits proximal to the MP joints, volarly and dorsally. One area to watch for is make sure that at the elbow crease here that the material sits just distal to that. That way whenever they perform elbow flexion and extension, that it doesn't cause irritation. And then the tab that extends around the elbow, you just want to extend that straight back. Whereas on the other side, it kind of goes up just a tad bit, so I will trim that just to avoid irritation. So here's the orthosis once it has been trimmed, and I also put the Velcro on it. So I did trim just a little bit on the distal aspect of the orthosis to prevent any irritation around the 5th metacarpal joint. I trimmed where we tagged it on the ulnar aspect, and then the portion that goes on the posterior aspect of the elbow, I trimmed that tag off as well. The tabs around the elbow, like I stated earlier, make sure those are straight. And then this can be an irritation area, so I make sure I smooth that as well. So for the tabs that extend out onto the elbow, just make sure they go straight back and they don't come up. And then also a very common irritation area is where this is positioned over the medial and lateral condyles. So I always pad those just to avoid any irritation, no matter how great the orthosis fits. And for Velcro placement, they will be all on the ulnar aspect. So we'll have one on the hand, one wrist, and one on the forearm, and then one on the posterior aspect of the elbow. If you feel like you need more support, you can add another strap around the forearm. So this is the finished product. So we will don the orthosis. And we'll strap around the posterior aspect of the elbow, the forearm, wrist, and hand. And then just to test, make sure they can't perform any forearm pronation and supination. And then one thing that they need to be doing is removing the strap on the posterior aspect of the elbow and make sure they can perform elbow flexion and extension to prevent any elbow stiffness.